What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Parc Ferm, the Canadian Formula One podcast. Today we're talking about Hulkenberg goes to Sauber. Is Newey leaving Red Bull Racing? Resurgence with Checo, and of course, the Miami Grand Prix. All that and more on Parc Ferm, the Canadian Formula One podcast. All right, boys, we are back. I'm here with Thomas and Edward, and we have got a lot to talk about today because it's been 1 week since our last episode, but in that past week, I feel like everything has happened. Lots of rumors to talk about, some important changes that are going to affect both this season and the next few seasons to come. Lots to talk about. I want to talk about with the one signing that I'm not sure anyone saw coming, and that has been Nico Hulkenberg signing with Sauber, Audi. What else are they called? What's the team called right now?
Steak.
Thank you. Kick, Steak, Sauber. But more importantly, the future Audi team in 2 years' time. Let's get your initial thoughts on that. Ed, start us off, buddy.
I think it's a safe move. Hulkenberg has been actually showing really well with Haas. Not to the extent of like winning races, but consistency is key, especially when you want to have a seat in Formula One. So with that move, they're looking veteran, they're looking at consistency, and possibly who knows what will happen on the second signing for Kick, Sauber, Steak, Audi, whatever you want to call it. But it's a good showing. I mean, I would definitely would have picked him over the rest of the field. I was even thinking Valtteri would be staying, but you know what? Hulk's a good choice for me. Tomas, how about you?
So yeah, it's definitely interesting. There was a little bit of so to call rumor mill or prediction a while ago that he might be going to Audi, because from what I remember, what I heard, Audi did want someone German or a German driver on their team. So I think he's a logical choice since Vettel is no longer in the sport. Basically, what Ed said, he's been pretty consistent recently in his races. He's showing some progress. He doesn't have a good enough car per se to win anything right now, so maybe that will change when Audi comes into play, and we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I think that's a smart move, and I'm glad he's still staying. You know, I think he still has a lot to show what's left of him.
So Thomas, you bring up an interesting point about the German connection. And for some reason, whenever I think of Hulkenberg, I never think that he's German. I don't know why. Like, the name is German. He looks like super German. I don't really know. I never correlate him with being German. I always think of him being somewhat Scandinavian. Maybe it's the hair. Maybe it's the blonde. I'm not sure. Maybe it's the fact that his teammate is from that region. But that's a really interesting point that you bring up. You know, I don't think I had really heard this rumor of him going to Audi Sauber in the past. And I think as of a couple of years ago when you had Valtteri sign with this team with Alfa Romeo at the time, you know, it was very much thought that, you know, he would be an incumbent to that Audi seat that was incoming because he was, you know, a solid number two, lots of experience with Lewis that he could probably bring into that team. And now it almost feels like him and Hulkenberg are fighting for that same, would have been fighting for that same spot. Right. And we always have Zhou, who has yet to sign a contract for next year. We have Carlos, which we've discussed at length. There are a lot of qualified, well, there are at least a couple of very qualified drivers left in the field that do not have contracts for next year that had been rumored to sign with that Audi team. What do we think they are going to do with that second seat? Ed?
Sorry, I was on mute. Definitely, I knew you were going to go to that. And I'm actually dumbfounded right now on who's going to take that second seat or first seat, however you want to look at it. I mean, right now, with signs being like all over the place and the team turning into an Audi works team, maybe that's a good place for him to actually be the lead driver this time, and who knows, hopefully we'll actually get into a nice car or a competitive car. But yeah, everything's up in the air. Like there's other things too, like for example, in the near future, maybe George Russell. Like George Russell's contract is up until 2025. Who knows if maybe he'll be moving out of Mercedes. Let's say, I don't know, again, far-fetched. Max Verstappen signs with Mercedes. Who knows? Or Sainz also signs with Mercedes, and Max and Sainz in Mercedes. Again, very far-fetched. But yeah, I honestly need to give it some more thought. But from the onset, I think Sainz is going to be the next signing for him for
Yeah,
Audi.
yeah, and I agree with you. So much things are in the air right now. I think Audi really wanted Sainz, and I think Sainz is going to get the seat from what I heard. Audi offered him a ridiculous amount of money, so it almost makes no sense for him to not sign with them. It's definitely an interesting little time frame that we're in right now because Mr. Valtteri Bottas doesn't have a seat. Joe Guan Yu doesn't have a seat, and we both know, we all know Valtteri is a solid driver. We know Joe brings that Chinese sponsorship, China money. So I don't think he is done in Formula One either. It's going to be very, very interesting. But I'm the same as Ed. I think Sainz is going to get that seat, and he's going to be the lead driver of the team.
So obviously, this move doesn't just affect Sauber, Kick, Audi. It also affects Haas, who now is going into. I mean, they were already going into next season with no driver signed. And now they have lost one of their drivers. And I think, I mean, personally, I'm very happy for Hulkenberg. I think he's, a solid driver. And I think getting him into like that kind of works team could be really exciting. So I'm really happy for him. But where does this leave Haas right now? They have Magnussen available, presumably. One of the perhaps most disliked drivers on the grid, as discussed in last week's episode. So go listen to that if you want the down low. You have Bottas available, but who goes to that team? Because at the end of the day, they are a bottom tier team. I don't really know what their development program is like. What are the options for Haas going into next year? Are they going to be? Do they have anybody that can be competitive in that car? Ed,
Actually, they actually have a lot of choices because, like, I'll start with the bottom feeder team, Alpine. You have Esteban Ocon, you have Gasly, who are both hungry because their car is pretty much garbage at this point. So if they can get the seat with Haas, which is actually
so is Haas
competitive right now,
do you think they would
that
jump?
could be,
Sorry to interrupt, but do you think they
that
would
could
actually
be
jump
a good
ship
chance for
and
them
go
to get like good drivers. The other one is possibly again Ricardo if he doesn't get picked up by AlphaTauri or what do you call this, Red Bull Racing. Another one is Alex Albon. Logan Sargent, he's not going to be in Formula One past this year, 100%. I already feel that. May not be factual. He might come after me, but I don't care. I doubt that he's going to have a seat. And who knows? Maybe Zhou Guan Yu transferring that Chinese followership and the Chinese money sponsorship into Haas. More development for the car. Tomas?
So I don't think I'm going to disagree with your point. I don't think Alpine drivers are going to go to Haas at all because if we're comparing both of them, I think Haas is far worse than them. Not discounting the possibility, it still might happen, but highly, highly doubt it. What I was going to say, what I really see it coming, Joe Guan Yu going to Haas. I see that just because we all know Haas is hungry for money. Joe brings money. Joe brings new fans. Recipe for success. I think that would be a very smart play on Haas if they would end up doing that. That's what I'm seeing.
Well, we will have to see. So obviously there is movement and rumors going on the grid, but there have also been a lot of rumors and discussions and talks about what is going to be happening off the grid as well. I'm referring specifically to Adrian Newey and his time at Red Bull Racing, which is, there have been, it reminds me of kind of like the Lewis to Ferrari thing, right? We heard rumors probably like last time this year, April, of, Lewis was kind of like snooping around, thinking about where he's going to go next year, having talks, and then everyone was like, no, you know what, he's going to Ferrari, he's Mercedes for life. And the same kinds of rumors have started to, come up about Adrian. And if the Lewis thing, taught me anything, it seems like in Formula One, in the paddock, where there's smoke, there's at least a little fire burning. And some of the news coming out this week about Adrian and his motivations, perhaps, for leaving, and it not necessarily being Lewis. It maybe isn't necessarily being looking for a new challenge, but it's about the environment that he finds himself at Red Bull right now, with Christian as the team principal and so on. There's lots to unpack here. Ed, do you want to get us started on what you think, what your take is on this whole Adrian Newey, Red Bull, Ferrari, Mercedes? Like, who knows? Like, there's all sorts of talk, but what do you got on this?
No, I love that you put in the Lewis Hamilton like angle from it as well, because I think that's exactly what's happening. So, as we know, like Lewis Hamilton is almost at the twilight of his career, and just like any other driver, and he said it also himself, that they would want to race for Ferrari. They would want to, wear that red jumpsuit, drive for the red car, and see how it feels. Just like with Lewis Hamilton, I will apply the exact same mentality and thought process with Adrian Newey. Here comes this team that, yeah, they are, competitive, but if it's starting to affect my personal life, I'm talking from the lens of Adrian Newey, I think I need to make a move. And Ferrari is, as we've seen so far in the past few years, they've constantly started to getting better. They started to compete with the likes of Red Bull. Has staved a little bit of McLaren's resurgence as well. Mercedes is not even in the picture of a competitor to Ferrari. So that's the next best choice. What Ferrari has now, bringing in Lewis Hamilton, bringing in Adrian Newey, it's a recipe for success. So it's a no-brainer at this point. And I'm sure Fred Vassar is just like, yes, bring it to me, bring it to my team on my third year, bringing in Hamilton and Newey at the same time. He's like the best choice when it comes to the new team principal at this point. So it's a good move, and I'm excited to see if it will actually happen or not. Tomas, what do you think?
So this is very, very interesting. What we heard about this whole situation, in the last week or so. We all know that he wants distance on what's going on. Maybe challenges. I think he has so much options right now. We don't know what's exactly going to happen. We don't know his contract. There's speculation, he might be stuck with Red Bull till 25 or 26 or even possibly 27. And, the details are going to come out later in regards to that. I know Aston Martin really wants him. He wants to work with Fernando Alonso as well. Ferrari wants him as well. So Ferrari, from what I gather, from what I understand, Ferrari has made him an offer. Aston Martin made him a very, very generous offer as well. I think Mercedes is interested in him as well. So he has definitely options, but he's keeping it very tight-lipped right now. And we don't know his next move. We don't know his contract. We don't know if he's even going to stay in Formula One. He might just say, fuck it. I had my time here and I'm out. I don't want this anymore. Do I see that happening? Probably not. I still think he's going to jump ship to one of those three teams that I mentioned. It's just a matter of time, and up to his contract, and just a matter of time to which team he chooses, because it is in his favor essentially.
So I want to play a little bit of devil's advocate here, and I want to question or challenge really how powerful the Newey effect is especially in the short term. I'm gonna pose two separate questions here. So we talk about the combination of Lewis and Newey in Ferrari. Okay, assuming he goes over to Ferrari, he has 6 months to develop a car, their car, essentially, to compete in 2025, and then you have 2026 come about. Brand new regulations, new engines, new aerodynamics, everything's new at that point. Do we really see him having such an immediate effect on a team's success, given the fact he's going to have a really short runway to implement any changes in a car? Two, that regulations are completely different in 20. So a year later, he's basically starting from scratch along with the other teams. And it's not like you can just copy and paste, a Red Bull design on a Ferrari car. So not to discount, he's had his tires pumped because of the success that RB's car has had over the last few years. But let's not forget the 8 previous years to that were dominated by a car not designed by Adrian Newey. So are we just in the era of Adrian Newey right now where we think everything he touches turns to gold? And is that a realistic expectation to have of him, whether he goes to Ferrari and Lewis or Aston with Fernando or Mercedes with, George and whoever else they have? Like, is it really going to have that much of a material impact in the next 2 years?
I would say it depends.
We can't have a depends
Possibly
answer.
not in 2025. That's for sure. Nothing's going to happen in 2025. I mean, let alone we haven't even mentioned the gardening clause that he has in his contract, wherein he cannot do anything for like about a year. But don't quote me on that. Let's review that possibly for the next episode. But from the way Adrian Newey has been like, this cornerstone when it comes to design for Formula One cars, like from Williams to McLaren and into Red Bull, like even those teams, like he was there for a time. He helped in terms of like the design, not just even aero, just like how the design of the suspension is, how things work together, and how it kind of like he loves to stretch the imagination and the rule book at the same time. So for the first, let's say if he does sign like with any team, 2025 is a write-off. 2025 is for him to really understand what are the capabilities of the car, how are they going to develop the car, what does he have in terms of resources at his disposal. 2026, minor changes because they're probably looking at 2026 building the car right now. I'm looking at changes between the midway through 2026 is where he'll start to have a little bit of an impact, and post 20 moving forward into the new regulations, that's where we will see that. So for now, it's not going to be immediate. It's more towards how much money are they going to bring to that team. Stocks are going to be higher. Now they're going to be very competitive. Morale of that team will increase. Then from there, who knows what happens. Tomas, what do you think?
So yeah, to Walker's question, it's a yes and no. Right now, is Adrian Newey pumped up on everyone? Yeah, he is. Theoretically speaking, let's say he jumps ship in 2025, which is not going to happen, but theoretically, do I think he would pull a miracle out of his ass for like that year or half a year? He might, but at the same time, he might not, just because it's like, as you Walker said, it's such a short runway. I see it better. He might essentially write off 2025 and put all his energy into 2026 if that were to happen. Everyone wants him. He's pumped up, but I do think he has one hell of a brain in his head, and I think he's capable of amazing things. He would, in my opinion, bring success to the team and possibly winning championships. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So it might not be the first or the second year, it might be the third year, but then again, who knows, it might be within the first year, just seeing what he's capable of and how smart he is.
Yeah, interesting point. I'm skeptical, given everything that we've talked about, given the fact that the regulations are brand new in 2026, it's a bit more of an even playing field. Everyone's starting over. It'll be interesting to see what happens. And, going back to the whole Lewis and Adrian connection and like, that power duo of that team that will dominate because they have those two. I don't know if they would dominate in the way that people expect within Lewis's career. I don't know if Lewis has that kind of runway left. So we will see. Lots to talk about, all speculative at this point. We'll see what happens between Adrian and Red Bull and how that affects the rest of the field as well. Because I'm sure that could also, depending on what team he goes to, impact, where drivers want to be, et cetera, et cetera. Let's move on to Miami, because that is the next race coming up. It is a sprint weekend. First race in the US this year, which is always a spectacle. Teams bring out all the stops. I don't know. I know, Ed, you want to touch on Ferrari a little bit. Did you see the little clutches that they came out with as well? Like the little hand purses?
No, I
didn't like a limited edition, like clutch hand purse in the shape of a Ferrari that was like hand stitched. I got to find it. We'll source out the link somewhere and put it in the show notes. But it's like, everyone makes a spectacle of US races because obviously it's a big market that they're trying to capture. Sprint weekend, interesting track. Mercedes bringing a ton of upgrades, apparently. What do we expect to see? What are we looking forward to? Ed?
Honestly, like I'm not looking forward to anything specifically. Besides the design of the Ferrari cars. That's it. Like, with how the different teams have been like stacking up in terms of performance, I'm really not sure how Ferrari is going to be stacking up to Red Bull Racing. I'm hoping that McLaren would kind of like pick up their momentum and maybe show a little bit more in Miami. Mercedes, I don't know. They haven't been really great, so I'm not gonna hold my breath for that. And then Aston Martin, like, are they going to be a competitive team this year because of all of the upgrades that they're promising to bring out? Who knows? Like, I think the pinnacle now for me personally is that once Miami hits and then we hit the halfway mark of the year, then I'd probably be able to look at it and maybe start to look forward to which team I really want to focus more on and want to see how they improve and how they take the fight to Red Bull. Tomas?
Are you done there, Ed? You cut out.
Oh.
We're just waiting for you to finish or come back, one or the other.
Oh, nothing?
I'm sure what you said is going to be recorded, and I'm sure it was all wonderful. And yes, thank you for that input. Thomas, what do you think?
I think it's Miami. It's going to be a glorious shit show, for the lack of a better word, because it's Miami. It's the first US race. Celebrities, overpriced shit. It's going to be a fun race. I'm not even going to talk about Mercedes because, as Ed said, they're not worth talking about at this point in time. Red Bull's going to win. I'm hoping to see some fighting between Ferrari and McLaren. That's definitely going to be interesting. But for some reason, I have in my mind Alpine and Williams. And for some reason, I think Logan Sargent is going to
win the race.
No, I wouldn't go as far as win the race. But I think he's going to make some sort of impression, whether that's actually he's going to perform fairly well or he's going to crash. One of the two. I don't know why, but just something.
Okay, hold on. You can't you can't say I'm going to make a bold prediction about Logan Sargent and then give like two extremes. Like, which one is it? He's going to fucking flame out, or is Sargent. He? No. You got to pick a lane, man. It's like when I asked you the whole thing about Newey, both of you were like, well, it depends. I could see go either way.
Okay, you know what?
Let's hear a definitive prediction.
He's going to make a good impression. He's going to finish higher where he usually finishes without any incidents. I think that's what's going to happen.
So
and
P18.
I also think,
or on the lead lap. P16. On the lead lap.
FP1.
I'm going to say higher. But
Okay.
yeah, I think he's going to make a positive impression, and I think he's really going to push it, and he's going to try to hold on to his seat, which is probably not going to happen, but he's going to try.
Yeah, he's a Florida boy, right?
FP1.
Is he a Florida boy? I think he is. So
Don't know.
I think it'll be his home. Well, whatever. We'll consider it his home race because he's the only U.S. driver on there. Yeah, I think it'll be. You know what? I'm actually looking forward to the sprint race, and as someone who has been known to shit on the sprint race format, I think the previous sprint in China, the format, how they changed it up with the schedule and the qualifying sessions and the two Parc Ferme conditions. I think it made a really big difference, and it made it entertaining and very much something to look forward to. So I'm actually interested to see how it works on that track. It's a very different track from China. It has a weird combination of technical and high speed elements. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens there. Is it worth talking about predictions for the race? Is it just, do we want to do like, maybe we should change the format, just do like an over or under on how many seconds Max is going to be ahead of the lead. So
like that.
I'm going to set the bar at 26 seconds. Are you taking the over or the under by the time the checkered flag waves?
17 seconds.
Okay, you're going under. Ed?
Nah, 30.
You're going
I'll go
over.
over.
Okay, we got one under, one over, and then let's round out the podium. Let's talk about second and third.
Checo.
Lewis, second.
Oh, go ahead. Okay.
Okay, sorry. Lewis, second.
Mm-hmm.
Third, Alonso.
Taking a page out of my
Damn.
book. Wow, that's what I said last
Podium
race.
of champions.
Yeah, I know. I would say Checo is going to go second. And just to continue Lando's streak, Lando third. I want him to get podium again.
I'm going to do Leclerc and Norris. Those are going to be my second and third place drivers. So, lots to look forward to. We'll come back and we'll recap the race next week. But before we go, there's only one way to end an episode of Parc Ferme, and that is with Name That Sponsor. You know how it works. Me. I'm going to name a sponsor. You have to name the team and what that company does. You ready?
Let's
It's up
go.
for grabs. We only got 3 of us here. There's only 2 of you playing, so like the chances for domination are excellent.
Pretty low.
The first, well, let's see, we get off to a good start. You know what? I'm going to start off with an easy one. The first sponsor is Schuberth. Schuberth. Schuberth.
I'm going to say clothing brand,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to say Williams.
I would say McLaren. Something to do with food, technology.
You know, I'm actually really disappointed in both of you that neither of you at least got half a point in this one, given Ed's racing background and your just love of cars. Schuberth is a helmet manufacturer. They do motorcycle, a lot of motorcycle, but I think they also do like automotive helmets as well, race helmets, and they are a sponsor for Haas. So there you have it.
I was going to say that, but technically clothing company helmets kind of.
No. If anything, it would be a safety company if we want to like throw like a broad stroke across it. Okay, next sponsor. Still time for domination. We still got 2 more left. We could still run the board here. The next sponsor is Vast. V-A-S-T. Vast. Anybody?
I am going to say Alpine, and I'm going to pull a classical. It's probably not right, but logistics.
I'd say Haas, but I don't know what industry. But it's like I've seen the brand before, but I don't remember what they do. Let's go with technology, like a SaaS company or something like that.
So what are you saying? Technology or SaaS company?
SaaS. Let's go with
Okay,
SaaS.
you gotta go SaaS. You know what? We're gonna give Ed points on SaaS. Vast is the world's first data computing platform designed to serve as the foundation for AI automated discovery. You tell me what that means, but we'll go with Sass on that one. And the team's Williams.
That was cool.
Don't look so upset, Ad. You're like so shocked that was Williams. All right, half point for it. Okay, still time to come back, Thomas. This is it. The last team is Epicor. Epicor. Epicor.
Computing technology, Aston Martin.
Alpine. No, not Alpine. Williams. People management.
Thomas came back with the tie. So Epicor is a business software company whose products are aimed at the manufacturing, distribution, retail, and services industry. Oh, software company, that's what they say. ERP, platform, etc., etc. And they are on Visa, Cash App, RB. So half points. So 0 domination, 1 tie, fucking par for the course with this game and you guys. So way to maintain our mediocre standards.
Good enough
All
for
right, boys,
anything else, man.
No, we can't exceed those standards. It'll shock the world.
Exactly.
Boys, this was a lot of fun. Thank you all for listening to Parc Ferm, the Canadian Formula One podcast. We're here every week talking Formula One. Don't forget to rate, subscribe, tell your friends, join the Discord. We'll be here next week recapping Miami. And until then, ciao for now.